There is a chapter of your life that is ended, yet you keep trying to read the last page. You go to work, you see your friends, but underneath the routine, there is a persistent tugging at your heart. It's not a loud scream. It's a quiet realization that something is gone. It's like a song you can't stop humming, even though you've forgotten the lyrics. What makes it so hard is that there was no big explosion, no final blowout, just a gradual fading until the lights went out, leaving you standing in a room you no longer recognize. This isn't a mistake. When a season of your life concludes before you're ready, the bond to that past doesn't snap, it stretches. The quiet doesn't mean the connection is dead. It means it's changing form. Growth doesn't always feel like moving forward. Sometimes it feels like being pulled back by a ghost of who you used to be. You might feel a strange mix of nostalgia and resentment all at once. Even if you can't explain why this ending still takes up so much space in your head, you can't deny how heavy it sits in your chest. If you've been dwelling on a what if lately, there's a reason. It usually says more about the closure you're denying yourself than about the person or place you left behind. Part 1. The burden of the almost success. Not every failure looks like a wreck. Some of the hardest things to carry are the dreams that almost came true. The ones that looked perfect on paper. You play the part, you smile for the photos, and you tell everyone it's for the best, because explaining the hollow feeling inside is more exhausting than just pretending it isn't there. The version of yourself you're mourning might be that almost version. This struggle isn't something people notice over coffee. It's the shadow that follows you when the sun goes down. What does an invisible ending look like? It looks like someone who is doing great but stopped making plans for the future. It's a subtle shift in your ambition. Most people assume you've moved on, but that internal pressure to be over it doesn't disappear. It turns into a weight you carry into every new room you enter. You might feel a sudden wave of sadness when you see someone else succeed, or a bitterness you didn't know you had. You're afraid that if you acknowledge how much it actually hurt to let go, you'll never be able to pick yourself up again. Part 2. Why your internal compass is spinning. Your gut isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to protect you. When you find yourself obsessing over a past choice during your commute, or right before bed, it's because there's a lesson you haven't fully integrated yet. You're trying to solve a puzzle that no longer has all the pieces. That's why this feeling is different from regret. It feels like a duty. You're checking the locks on a house you don't live in anymore. Your deeper self is trying to find the balance between who you were and who you are becoming. If you feel a deep sense of unrest, it's because your spirit is trying to outrun a memory that is still holding your hand. Your instincts are firing because they know you aren't fully here yet. It's the quiet part of you saying, you can't start the next book until you actually put this one down. Part 3. The trap of the unsent message. We don't hold on to things because we want to suffer. We hold on because letting go feels like a loss of identity. To move on is to admit that a version of your life is dead. For a lot of us, that is terrifying. You might fear that if you stop thinking about it, it will be like it never happened at all. So you choose the pain of remembering over the emptiness of forgetting. You aren't stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you're loyal to a ghost. The irony is that the more you try to preserve the memory, the more it rots your present. Part 4. How you survive the void. Empty space isn't a hole, it's an opportunity. When the noise of the past finally dies down, you realize that your worth was never built on that relationship or job. You might feel the loneliness most in the early morning, before the world tells you who to be. This isn't about rushing to find a replacement. Sometimes your only job is to just exist in the quiet. Healing doesn't always require a new plan. Sometimes it just requires sitting still until the shaking stops. Part 5. What this crossroad is asking of you. This moment isn't asking you to fix the past. It's not asking you to apologize one more time. It's asking you to trust that you can survive being misunderstood. Awareness without action. Acceptance without an explanation. If things ever come full circle, let it be because the universe aligned, not because you forced it. Sometimes clarity doesn't come from a conversation. It comes from the silence that follows it. Part 6. When the fog finally clears. Eventually, the weight starts to lift, not because the past changed, but because you got stronger. You stop asking why and start asking what now. This is where your maturity shows. It feels steady. You realize that remembering a struggle doesn't mean you're still in it. The memory stays, but the sting leaves. This is the wisdom of the road. The most meaningful thing you can do for your future self is to let the past stay in the rear view mirror. Trust that if something was meant for you, it wouldn't have required you to lose yourself to keep it. If it's gone, the space it left is where your new life is supposed to grow. You turn inward and realize that your ability to care this much is a gift, not a curse. Not everyone has a heart deep enough to ache like this. When peace finally arrives, it doesn't mean you forgot. It means you've finally forgiven yourself for being human. If you've been haunted by a memory, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're capable of a depth most people never reach. Trust that. Honor that. The most powerful yes you will ever say is the no you say to a past that no longer serves you. If this hit home, subscribe to Ascend B. Leave a comment below. What is one thing you are finally ready to leave behind today?